Hello, this is Michael Justin Lee, the president of the IB Dream. Welcome to another episode of Aspire, our higher education podcast channel. Today, we're very happy to talk with John Suzuki, a current second-year student at Harvard Business School. Thank you for joining us, John.
Very excited to be here, Michael.
John, let's start by talking about your childhood before we go further into your higher education. Would you tell us about your academic journey from a young age?
Sure. So let's just start from the very beginning. So I was born in Tokyo, so I'm ethnically Japanese. My mother tongue is also Japanese, but I moved to Switzerland when I was 6 years old, and I stayed there till I was 18. And then I moved to the UK. I went to Cambridge University, and I studied chemical engineering there. And I did an application of chemical engineering in the biosensor space in my fourth year as my master's degree. So I also got my master's from Cambridge, and I went on to work in the CDMO, basically the manufacturing industry for the pharmaceutical industry. And what I was doing there was I was a technical sales manager for active ingredients in drugs. And after that, I applied to Harvard Business School in 2020, and I was admitted. But since Corona happened, I deferred entry for 2 years. And during those 2 years, I worked in deep tech early stage venture capital in Tokyo, focusing on the life sciences. So that's like medical devices, drug discovery technologies, etc. And I did that for 2 years. And now I'm a second year student at Harvard.
Oh, wonderful. John, from a young age, did you have clear ideas about what you wanted to do academically and professionally?
Yeah, so Michael, I come from a family of medical doctors. My mother is a medical doctor. My father is a medical doctor. My grandparents are medical doctors, and my sister is soon to be one. So there was always a certain pressure or, kind of a predisposition towards the medical field. However, I also knew that this was a field that you need an absolute passion and absolute, sureness to go into. And therefore, I actually didn't know if I had that. So to answer your question straightforwardly, I actually didn't really know what I wanted to do for a long time in my early childhood. And I did chemical. I basically chose degrees that I was either I thought I was good at, and also that I thought would open many doors. And that's why I chose engineering as my first degree to do, because I was good at maths and physics and chemistry. And also I knew that it was a degree that would open many doors. So to answer your question, no, I didn't really know what I want to do in my academic or professional career from a very young age.
I see. John, coming from Tokyo, growing up in Switzerland, how did you make the decision to study in the UK as opposed to the American universities, or for that matter, any other universities for your undergraduate?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So I would say I was considering the US or the UK for my university admissions, and that's because I was at an international school. My education, for the most part, had been in English. So obviously, English was my stronger language versus my Japanese, although I am also fluent in both. And when I thought about the cost of attendance and also I think the most important thing was the proximity to my family. So my mother, she lives in Geneva. So going to the States when I was 18 meant that I was going to be very, very far away from home. So that's why that was one of the probably the most major decision in choosing the UK over the US.
I see. John, you have had the chance to study in both the US and the UK styles of teaching. What would you say are the best parts of each style?
So, so just for context, I was doing a very technical degree in the UK at Cambridge, and in the US, I'm now doing a business degree. So the natures of these degrees are quite different. But let's start with the UK. So, in the UK, for the engineering degree, it was very lecture based. But at Cambridge, the best thing is that you have these things called supervisions. They're basically tutorials where you go and essentially you have to prepare, it's like a homework, you have to prepare answers to questions that they set you. And you have basically 2 students or 3 students to 1 professor in these tutorial sessions. And these professors are leading professors or researchers in that field. So that's where the real learning takes place. And I say this because as a learner, I'm not very good at staying focused when someone's just lecturing me for, let's say, an hour and a half. So these tutorials were the places where I really learned a lot. So that was one of the best things about the UK. Specifically, I know it's specific to Cambridge and Oxford, but the tutorial sessions, the supervision sessions were the ones that I really did my learning and I really value from my undergraduate degree. In terms of the US, the best thing about the US, and that's from my experience at business school, is obviously, I think it's the case method, right? And the case method is because different voices speak throughout the class, and everyone gets basically 1 go per class to speak. It's like watching a TV show in which the professor is the MC, and also getting to experience other people's experiences from other industries, from people that are around your age who are actually in that industry that the topic is about. So in terms of engagement, I think business school is very, very high. You rarely see, I don't think I've really seen anyone like zoning out or anything. People are very, very engaged. The discussions are very deep. So I think that's one of the best things about having an education in the US, particularly at Harvard Business School, because it's so engaging, and I'm a very I lose focus very easily, but yeah, no, it's really fun to be in class.
Okay, so now let's move past Cambridge.
Okay.
In the UK, it's a 3-year program, as we all know. What were your thoughts about your first job? We did say that you didn't have a clear idea before university. Did you have a clear idea of what you wanted to do upon graduation?
So I knew that I was interested enough in the application of chemical engineering to the pharmaceutical industry that I would enjoy the job that had been offered to me. So I think I should talk about, I did an internship at Gilead Sciences in California in my third year. And it was then that my previous boss, so the first employer after my graduation, had approached me. And they're called Takasago International Corporation, but they're basically a Japanese chemical manufacturer, and they have a pharmaceutical division. And the way he approached me was that, look, you have a chemical engineering degree, you know how it's applied in the pharmaceutical industry, you speak English and Japanese, we really, really want you, and this is a job that is very, we would value you very specially for this job. And as a graduate coming out from Cambridge, I thought I was very valued, and I also was pretty interested in the technology that they were offering, so I went with that job. Did I know that I wanted to stick with it for the rest of my life? Absolutely not. But I was definitely interested enough, and I was also excited to take on my new journey at the time.
Oh, that's wonderful. So now, John, by this point, you have obtained your undergraduate and master's degree in chemical engineering, and you've had good work experience. What led you to start thinking about obtaining an MBA?
Yes. So, as I said, out of undergrad, I really loved the job that I was doing. However, I knew that eventually I wanted to start my own business or startup and take ownership of my work and make an impact in society. And but in terms of how I would do that, I didn't really know at the time. So I purely got interested into doing an MBA from literally the perspective of it being a way to learn holistically about the business world, everything from, incorporating a company, building a team, building a business, scaling a technology, etc.
That's interesting and very commonly expressed about business school and Harvard in particular. Did your employer at that time know that you were interested in doing this?
So I was very transparent with my boss of my previous employer. So I did tell him that eventually I wanted to, be an entrepreneur. Either within that corporation that I was working at, or or by myself. And I always told him that what excites me is the thought of me building something from scratch. So when I told him about the MBA degree, that I really want to learn more, continue my learning, this time in the business sense, out of the technical degree, so out of chemical engineering and out of the pharmaceutical industry, he was actually quite encouraging. So to the point where he was actually willing to sponsor my MBA eventually.
Financially sponsor.
Financially sponsor my MBA, which I didn't take in the end. But,
I see.
Yeah, but he was very, very encouraging, and I think it was really important that I was very transparent with him, and we also had a very, very close relationship outside work as well. We were good friends outside work, although he was about twice my age. But yeah, no, I think I had a really good relationship with my boss, and I was always transparent about the fact that I wanted to continue my learning. And
that's absolutely wonderful. Wonderful. John, can I assume that you asked for his a letter of recommendation from him?
Yes, I did. He was one of my recommendation letter writers. Yes.
Yeah, I think I could assume that. Was the year that you applied, was the GMAT required?
Yes, it was required.
When did you start preparing to take the GMAT?
Mm-hmm. So I was planning to apply for business school during the fall of 2019. So that's like October to December timeframe. That's the preparation of my application, which meant that I have to get my GMAT done by basically September or August latest. So I started my preparation in June of that year. So basically 3 months of preparation essentially before I took my GMAT. And I can deep dive into how I did my preparation and etc.
Yes, absolutely. That was my next question: was how you specifically prepared for your GMAT taking.
Okay, yeah, great. So being an engineer, the quant part I found was quite easy, even when I first took the test. So I really focused on my verbal. So just to give you an idea, assuming that the listeners of this podcast are people that are looking to take the GMAT, I started around, without zero preparation, I started probably below 600 in my first take. So not very good actually. But the main reason for that was my verbal was quite bad, because I had never done a verbal degree. So I used the resources I used was the Manhattan Prep Verbal, these 3 red books for each of the sections in the verbal, and I studied probably around 2 hours every day on a weekday, and 5 hours per day on the weekend, and I took mock tests, one mock test per week. So I didn't overdo the mock tests, but I did buy all the tests that are available on the GMAT prep book, and I took each test 3 times until my score was very high, which gave me a good confidence going into the test. And when I did finally take my exam late August, I managed to get the score that I wanted. And I won't say the exact score here, but I'll tell you that it's slightly above the Harvard MBA average. And I was really happy that I could do it in one go. So that's kind of my journey.
John, at this point, you've made your decision to obtain an MBA. How did you narrow down the list of schools that you would apply to?
So that's a lot of thought went into this process, Michael. And back then I was living in London with my girlfriend, so I wanted to actually stay there. So first of all, I actually looked at the European schools to apply to. And I looked at, again, I wanted to learn about business holistically. So I looked at more the academic side of things. And also I looked at what kind of alumni were coming out from those schools and what kind of network that I would gain from going there. And that's why, first of all, I actually narrowed my choices down to London Business School and Oxford Said. And I'm a person who doesn't want to apply to too many schools because I want to make sure that my applications are of good quality. And I know that if I apply to too many, the quality for each school would suffer. But having said that, I also knew that the GMAT score I got was good enough to apply to a US school as well. And it was above most schools. It was actually, as I said, above the Harvard MBA standard. So I wanted to try just one school where it would be a little bit of maybe a long shot for me, but I wanted to try one school in the US that would be quite challenging. And that I thought was Harvard. I had lived in the West Coast before in my undergrad years in San Francisco. So that's why I wanted to this time try to go to the East Coast. And that's why I chose Harvard as my only US school.
Oh my goodness, one only.
Yes, one only. Yeah, though I'm sorry if this is not helpful for the other candidates, but
No, on the contrary, John, this is very helpful. There'll be others who are thinking the same thing. John, as we know, Harvard's application is very, very broad, with an unlimited word count on the application essay of a topic, of any topic you choose. What was your decision process into your eventual essay topic?
Okay, so I think there's two parts to this. And the first part is that you need to go and talk to people that either have done an MBA or are doing an MBA at Harvard at that time, and just speak to them about who they are as a person and what kind of career path they have led. And if it helps at all, you should also look at some of the essays that they have written about themselves, if they're kind enough to share. And you should look at what sort of tone they write it in and what sort of experiences really resonate with you, and why does that tell you that they're being authentic? Why is it, what is it that makes them special as a candidate for Harvard Business School? And once you have those points down, and I think it will take about 4 or 5 people to talk to, maybe I only read about 3 essays, but it could take up to, maybe you could read 10 or 15 admissions essays. But after that, you would understand what kind of tones and what kind of expressions they have used in their essays to express themselves authentically. And then you should take some time for yourself to for some introspection. Who are you as a person, and why are you special? What makes you yourself? And you need to tell that story in the context of your career. So I know this sounds very kind of cloudy, so let me just give you a little bit of an example of how I did it. So the question on I think the Harvard essay is the same every year. It says, as we review your application, what more would you like us to know as we consider your candidacy for the Harvard Business School MBA program? So what I wrote was about my background as a Japanese person growing up abroad, in Switzerland and the UK, but then going back to a Japanese firm and my journey within it to win a scholarship to the MBA. And that just sounds very structural, but within it, I made sure that I expressed myself as a person, and also what mattered to me in my career. So I think it's really important to be authentic and real, and maybe leave 2-3 weeks to think about it. For me, the essay really came to me after 2 weeks of it just hanging around in my mind. So just remember what makes you unique, your story unique, and think about it for a couple of weeks until I think at some point it will come to you.
Mm-hmm. John, how long did it take you to write the essay itself once your idea for what to write came to you?
Mhm. So I think so it took me, let's say I'd been thinking about the essay for about 2 weeks first, 3 weeks first, after I've done all my interviews with alumni and current students and read a couple of essays. So 2 weeks first to just brainstorm and think about it. And then to write the essay, I think I literally wrote it in a burst of 3 days, because it just came to me. And then after that, I took about another 2 weeks to polish it, right? So I was an engineering student, so my essay writing isn't the best thing in the world. So I had my friends look at it. I got some feedback from them, especially friends that I had from Cambridge that had studied, for example, English. They're great essay writers, so they helped me edit my essay, and to the point where it was boiled down to the real core. It was the just the real good stuff, very concentrated in an essay. So just to answer your question, 2 weeks of contemplating, 3 days of hardcore writing, and then 2 weeks of editing. So let's just call that 5 weeks.
Yes, that's a very quick turnaround, and that's wonderful. What about the interview process? A great many applicants are very intimidated by interviews in general, but in particular by Harvard. We have heard conflicting opinions about their Harvard interviews, some saying it was very technical, others saying it was very general. What was your opinion of yours, and how did you prepare in advance?
Okay. Yeah, so I think I was quite nervous for the interview, but I made sure I was very prepared, or at least I made sure I felt like I was very prepared. I'll just start with the experience itself and how it was. So it was very conversational. I took it in London, by the way, and it was very conversational. It was very friendly. It was a lady, but she asked me questions about my essay, my background, and also what is it that I sell as a salesman. It was a very technical thing that I sold. It was a particular manufacturing technology for a pharmaceutical active ingredient. So I had to illustrate it in a simple but illustrative terms, which I think she got immediately. And once the interview got going, I was actually very comfortable. Yeah. So, and then moving on to the preparation process. So I think you should be prepared for the general questions like why Harvard, why MBA. These are questions you should really be fluent in them. And the way I did that was I made some flashcards, and I made sure that, but I didn't write it word by word, my answers. So on the front of the flashcard, it would be something like why HBS, and on the back, I'll have about 3 bullet points of why I would really like to go to HBS. And I made sure that I would, practice this before I go to bed every evening for about a month before my interviews, so that it was very, when I saw the questions, I knew the answers, right? And then when you got to that point, it was just about practice, not making it sound natural, but making sure that you can deliver it in a natural way. And I did that with friends. I got my girlfriend interviewed me. I got a lot of people to interview me. So I maybe went through 10-15 reps of interviews with my friends and got feedback from them. And by the time the actual interview came, the day before the interview, and I always do this for every exam, but the day before I just don't do anything. I just chill. I just relax, some shows and stuff, and on the day I was nervous, but I definitely felt prepared, and I think feeling prepared is the most important thing.
Without question. Well, at this point, then, congratulations, you got your acceptance. Let's jump into Harvard Business School.
Sure.
As our listeners know, Harvard invented the world famous case study method. Was it difficult for you transitioning from a scientific education to this style of teaching?
Mm-hmm. So Michael, that's a good question. So I had 2 years leading up. You know, I'm a 2-year deferral to Harvard Business School. So I had 2 years of anticipating. So leading up to the class, I was actually quite, I was very worried actually. I was losing sleep over it. I was in my head about, oh, will I be okay to speak up? You know, and I'm a pretty talkative guy, and still I was quite nervous. But the thing is, you just have to jump in the fire, I think, and that's exactly what I did. First day of class, so you have 2 days before the actual classes start to practice. It's called Start Week. You have 2 days of mock cases.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they just give you two full days, where you can practice with your classmates, obviously, like a mock case. So I just made sure that I went for it in those 2 days, and once you've spoke it up a couple of times, it becomes much easier. And also, I think if you're focused on how you're appearing to people, which all of us are, then you're going to get nervous. But if you're focused on the topic at hand itself and really listening to the conversation and very focused, and you have an idea in your head that you're dying to share, then it's that will that takes over the nervousness of speaking up. So to answer your question, yes, case method was a different type of teaching, but I really, really enjoy it because it's like watching a TV show where your friends are the cast. Mm-hmm. And second of all, you'll be fine speaking up in class if you just jump into the fire and focus on the topic in hand. So that's how I feel.
Wonderful. Yes. John, you mentioned that your ultimate goal was an entrepreneurial career. Mm-hmm. Towards that goal, what courses at Harvard most interested you?
That's a good question. So I think, of course, the entrepreneurial courses at Harvard are the ones that were interesting to me when I first applied to Harvard. But because I had 2 years in VC before coming to Harvard due to my deferral, I knew quite a lot about starting companies when at the point when I actually got to Harvard. So I think the courses that really did benefit me a lot were actually some of the hard skill courses like finance and accounting, which I actually never did get a formal education on. So when you look at balance sheets of companies or PL or cash flow statements, you're very comfortable with them, and you can get a snapshot of what they're doing. You can also understand about how these companies are valued in the marketplace. So I think that was very interesting. The other thing, and I think this one's more important, is about Harvard really focuses on leadership. So they have courses. It's called leadership and organizational behavior, leadership and corporate accountability in the first year as required curriculum. And these are courses that teach you about what you should be doing as a leader and what you shouldn't be doing as a leader of an organization. So I think when I start my entrepreneurship journey in the future, those are some of the lessons that I really value and will put to practice in the future.
Wonderful. John, I realize that you have a semester remaining. Could you comment about if there were things differently that you might have done starting out when you got to Harvard that might have made your experience even better?
Yeah, I think so. I think in hindsight, I do think I was able to navigate the HBS experience pretty well. But if I had to do it again, I think I would come to Harvard, the MBA program, knowing what I really want. So I think there's 3 things you can choose from. So there's the academics, there's the social aspect, and there's recruiting, right? So if you try to do all of these things at once, you will be exhausted. You'll be very, very tired. You'll be stretched. in ways you never thought you could be. So I think for me, I tried to do all three of them at once, and I got very, very tired, and I didn't even notice I was really tired until I caught a cold or something in the first term. So I think coming into business school, you should really know what you're going to prioritize. Maybe 2 out of 3 things, right? So in the first year, I think I should have prioritized recruiting and the social part. I know that academics is super intense, so it's, you're inclined to focus on that. I'm not saying you shouldn't focus on academics, but you should come in with things that you really want to focus on in HBS to make the experience tailored for you and to get the best out of the MBA experience.
That's a very interesting thing you say. I was going to come to the social aspect of your experience. Let's talk about social life at Harvard. John, how did you prioritize what you wanted to do socially?
Yeah, so I think I don't think prioritizing is exactly what I had thought I was doing, but you can be assured that people at Harvard are going to be very, 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 very friendly and very, very sociable in general. So attending, mingling events, and there'll be many of them, that could be from career-oriented ones to like a sport club-oriented one to a section-oriented one. And the section's a big thing because the section is like your class. It's 90 people that you spent maybe 6 hours every day with. So then in the first year, you basically take all the classes with the same 90 people. So you will get to know them very, 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 very well. So I know that some of my section mates, for example, they were first really maybe not so comfortable with the section, but very, very quickly, you will become very comfortable.
John, your experience sounds quite different from the reputation Harvard has had in the past of being a very cutthroat place. Did you see any of that?
The thing is, I don't think I did. I don't think I've never seen anyone shut down in class. I've never seen so much, never seen competitive behaviors really. And of course, Harvard's a competitive place to get into, but once you're in there, everybody's helping each other out. I mean, I told you that I really gained a lot from my finance and accounting classes, but that's a lot of that is because my friends helped me to learn. They gave me tutoring sessions that they organized. So I never really felt the cutthroat part of HBS. So I know that HBS has this reputation. Yeah, and people can get quite competitive when it comes to sports or things like that, but in academics and social life and everything, I don't think it was cutthroat at all. So that's just been my experience there.
That's wonderful to hear. That's absolutely wonderful to hear. Well, now, John, to conclude, going forward, you'll be graduating soon. What will you say is your definition of success?
Mm-hmm. So that's a big question. And I think I'm still developing my definition of this. But I think, simply put though, and this is a huge generalization, but I think as humans, we want someone to say that, hey, look, I'm so thankful that you were in my life, right? And I think that's the same for me. So having said that, I think my definition of success is to make a positive impact on people around me, hopefully people closest to me, and if I can, to society as a whole, right? So you want to leave the place a better place than what you found it. So I think it's very, very vague. I know it's very, very general, but I think that's the very, very basic definition of success. And to do that, I want to use my influence and impact in the future, if I may, to make that happen. So I think that's my definition.
Thank you very much, John. Listeners, we're very happy today to be joined by John Suzuki, a second-year student at Harvard Business School. John, we wish you the very best in your continuing studies and with your professional career.
Thank you for having me, Michael.